Hi, we're the Saginaw Winter Warriors. We're in Hornepayne, Ontario. We're having a good time here. We're on PBS, and the trails are really great up here. We have a group. Some of us are older, some of us are younger, and we've been together as a group for 25 years.
We came out of Wawa, and we're going up, end up in Hearst and back to Marathon, and we've been coming up here for 3 years now. We did a lot of snowmobiling in the UP in Michigan, and the trails up here are so much better. That's why we're up here.
We're starting our second day of riding. Yesterday we came from Hearst to Hornepayne, about 107 miles. Took us about 7 hours to get here, taking our time. Very beautiful trails. Today we're leaving Hornepayne. It's about 9:30, and we're headed off to Manitouwadge. It's about 90 miles to Manitouwadge. We're going to have lunch there, and then we're headed down to White River, about another 80 or 90 miles or so. It's really cold out today, but we're not as bad as it was yesterday. We're up to maybe a minus 10 Fahrenheit or so. So compared to yesterday, that's kind of a warm spell. Let's hit the trails here and see what we find today.
After a good, comfortable night's stay at the Center Inn in Hornepayne, we are continuing our ride on the A-Top Trail. Riding with SnowTrails TV on this trip is Sean Fogg on the Skidoo GSX and Brad Parsons on the Renegade, with Michael Moreau from the Algoma Train on the Firecat. You may see these guys at many of the snowmobile trade shows. Barry Shoemaker and I round out the riding party on this trip. As I mentioned, so far the weather was very cold. I had heard that many snowmobilers had canceled their travel plans that week because of the cold. But we found that if one is dressed for the winter, and you stopped shortly after starting to ride and closed up any cold air leaks in your suit or helmet, that riding was just as nice as any time. And like usual, when in Ontario, the other sled traffic is very minimal. We are trying to get back on our original riding schedule. We spent last night in Hornepayne instead of riding through to Manitouwadge. Because of the slow going for the video, it doesn't do any good to ride at night for SnowTrails TV footage. So today we are going to push it and have lunch in Manitouwadge and then ride to White River, where we will be spending the night. This is the third day of our 5-day trip. The first day we rode the wonderfully scenic snow train from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario to Hearst, about a 10-hour ride. Some of the people on the train got off in Duberville, and we hope to meet up with them later in the week. The second day we rode a slow 7 hours to Hornepayne, where we spent the night at the Center Inn. We have 2 more days of riding these Ontario groomed trails. For information about trail conditions and touring trails like we are, visit snowtrailstv.com.
We're about 20 miles down the trail from Hornepayne to Manitouwadge. It's absolutely beautiful trails, rolling hills, just wide open scenery here. It's like snowmobiling in paradise here in Ontario. You'll have to try it. Let's get back out onto the trails now and make our way in. It's a lot of fun here.
I have noticed that the bumpy trail is very rare here in Ontario, since they take snowmobiling very seriously and want you to have a good time and tell your sledding buddies all about your experience. Moose tracks were abundant on the trails. We saw 5 moose between us on the week-long journey, and one must be careful when riding at night. Barry almost rode under 2 moose in the dark. The Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs is dedicated to providing strong leadership and support to member clubs and volunteers, to establishing and maintaining quality snowmobile trails which are used in a safe and environmentally responsible manner, and to further the enjoyment of organized snowmobiling. To ride on OFSC prescribed snowmobile trails, the law requires that a valid snowmobile trail permit be affixed to your windshield. You can buy a permit from any local snowmobile dealer or at various snowmobile clubs, or go to SnowTrailsTV.com for links on the OFSC. The fine for failing to have or display a valid permit is a minimum of $205 to a maximum of $1,000. If you are caught without a permit on an OFSC trail on private property, you can also be charged with trespassing. To drive a snowmobile legally, it is mandatory to possess a valid driver's license and/or snowmobile operator's permit, and carry current snowmobile registration and proof of liability insurance, with a $500,000 minimum at all times. Both the driver and passenger must wear a helmet when riding a snowmobile. Snowmobiling occurs in an inherently risky off-road riding environment. Even OFSC trails encompass an infinite variety of unpredictable terrain and unforeseeable natural phenomena. Riding on OFSC snowmobile trails should not be viewed as similar in any way to travel on public roads, where legal requirements, enforcement, regular maintenance, resources, and engineering combine to ensure high standards and predictable conditions. Anything can happen during an off-road experience, such as trail riding, so snowmobilers must take responsibility for their own riding safety and decisions. Snowmobilers should know the basic assumptions when using OFSC trails. Obey all provincial laws, ride defensively with care and control, exercise sound personal judgment, and make individual smart choices at all times. In the constantly changing surroundings that characterize OFSC snowmobile trails, it is always prudent to expect the unexpected. You always ride at your own risk. Many of the OFSC prescribed trails cross private property, provided through the generosity of the landowners, so please respect their land to keep snowmobiling. Each snowmobiler must help to keep these trails open by staying on the marked trail, following stake lines across fields, carry your litter out with you, leave the livestock alone, and by not damaging gates, fences, and other property, and by saying thanks to landowners at every opportunity. Your ability to keep on riding depends on it. As we arrive in Manitouwadge, the Manitouwadge Motor Hotel is a great place to stop and have a meal. I've been there several times and have never been disappointed. We'll talk with Rob, the owner, in just a little bit. Hey, we're here in Manitouwadge now. We left Hornepayne this morning. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 95 miles and beautifully groomed trails. We're going to stop in for lunch here at the Manitouwadge Motor Inn. Hey, this trip is excellent. We're having some great snowmobiling paradise here in Ontario. We just finished up lunch here at the Manitouwadge Motor Hotel. We left Hornepayne this morning. We stopped in here and let's talk with Rob, who owns this place and knows a lot about the local snowmobiling and can tell you all about it.
In Manitouwadge, there's a large number of snowmobile trails that are local loops that we call them. The club keeps them groomed up real well. You could ride around town here for days actually on those trails alone, the ones that are groomed. as well as the accommodations here in town. We can take care of pretty well everything from, you know, your smallest groups right up to the larger groups. There's a variety of bed and breakfasts, there's hotels, your restaurants, gas stations, just about everything you can pretty well expect to find in a town in Northern Ontario. But I guess the most spectacular